Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. Hold on just a second while I finish getting this set up. Just making sure I get logged in here so I can actually interact with chat. Alright, there we got that sorted out. After our play-in game for the Summer of Lovecraft last week, we're all set, and it was on a Monday night. It was kind of a weird night, so I could make sure I got that in before Peanut with Phoenix, and the Summer of Lovecraft actually started on Sunday. This week, we're going to start the first of our Call of Cthulhu adventures as we find ourselves alone against the flames. In this adventure, we'll be taking a custom character through a Call of Cthulhu adventure, and we'll see how they fare to potentially use them later in Call of Cthulhu campaigns. Anyway, let's go ahead and set a little bit of the scene here. I've got everything I need. Just to double check here, I believe I always want to be under the die roll, or under the skill value, but we're all set here, so let's say we just jump right in, and let's say we just jump right into this adventure. For those of you who might stop by later in the chat, I'm going to let chat's going to help me make some of the decisions in this adventure. So, in case you're wondering how this works, it's basically going to be a choose your own adventure kind of deal, where we'll go through a passage of text, then we'll go to another passage, and eventually I have to stop and make a decision, but it'll probably make more sense as we get into it. Anyway, let's jump into this one. The sun is high in the sky, a merciless ball of heat. You feel scorched by the time you reach the bus halt in front of Osborne's drugstore. It's a relief to put down your heavy cases and take off your hat for a moment. You fan your face. It has been a long summer here in your hometown, and yet a curiously empty one. You look across the street at the grubby butcher's shop, the grocer's with its faded awning, and the shabby tobacconist. Mistrustful faces glare at you as they pass, eyeing your clothes and your luggage. It was your parents' choice to live here, not yours. You were happy down south as a child, among Providence's white-walled houses and leafy churchyards. Perhaps this new job in Arkham will supply the change you need. Yet everybody in the world you know lives here. You know nobody in Arkham, not one soul. You ask yourself one last time if you are doing the right thing. The answer is here. None of your supposed friends have come to see you off. You are alone. Whatever challenges lie in Arkham, it will be a new life and a brave one. A small gray motor coach approaches and rattles to a stop. You put your hat back on and pick up your cases. Go to 263. So that's what I was talking about with the choose your own adventure aspect, where now we're moving to a different entry, and we want entry 263. I'm going to come at it from this angle. Having the cord is not something I'm completely used to yet with streaming. Two young men with sullen expressions alight from the coach. One looks you up and down before heading away. The driver also steps down, glancing at you before crossing the road to visit the tobacconist. When he returns, he is rolling a cigarette between his yellowed fingers. He gives it a final twist and examines you as he reaches for his matchbox. He is a thin man in his 50s, dressed in a stained shirt with the bus company emblem, yet his eyes are sharp in their dark sockets. Where to? You show him your ticket for Ossipee. From there you will connect to Rochester and Portsmouth before the coastal line to Newburyport, and, finally, Arkham. You should be able to afford a rail ticket for at least some of the way. Otherwise, this will be the first of many long bus trips. The driver scratches the match and lights his cigarette. The end flares as he takes a draw. Then he exhales and gestures to the back of the coach. Luggage rack's up there. Look at your investigator sheet. At the top, you will see you have spaces for 8 characteristics: strength, constitution, power, dexterity, appearance, size, intelligence, and education. Allocate the following values among them, writing in the large square beside each: 40, 3 50s, 2 60s, a 70, and an 80. If you'd like more information on what these characteristics mean, read page 7 of book 2. When you've done that, go to 8. And hang on just a second while I go get a little scratch paper. I always forget with these Call of Cthulhu adventures, I'm going to need some scratch paper, so stand by while I go grab that. It's also taking me a little bit of getting used to do these in pencil, because I'm so used to doing a lot of this stuff with the channel in pen. But the thing is with Call of Cthulhu, it actually makes more sense to do it in pencil. Anyway, here's what it's talking about with the spaces for each of the stats. So just to go through them very briefly, what did it say? Read page 7 of book 2. I think there should be a section in the... I've got the Keeper rulebook handy. Okay, here we go. So just to explain a little bit about what each of these characteristics mean. Strength represents your physical muscle power. Constitution is your health, your vigor, and your vitality. Size is your height and weight into a single number averaged. Dexterity is how quick, nimble, and physically flexible you are. Appearance is your physical attractiveness and personality. So as an example, I'd probably rank as like a 10 in appearance. Anyway, intelligence is how well you learn and analyze information, solve puzzles, stuff like that. Power is your force of will, and education is the formal and factual knowledge that's possessed by investigators. So, what did it say? 40, 3 50s, 2 60s, a 70, and an 80. I think this investigator is going to have learned mostly from the School of Hard Knocks. So we're going to go with a... Let's go with an education score of around 60 for education. The investigators kind of learned in the School of Hard Knocks. Strength... let's see, so kind of a high school education, mostly the School of Hard Knocks. Somehow he's a charmer, though. We'll go with an 80 in appearance. Let's see. He's fairly nimble, so we'll give him a 60 in dexterity. Okay, that takes care of my 60s. We'll go with power. Actually, let's go, 50 in power. We'll go with a... how else do I want to do this? Let's see. So I've got both my 60s, so I've got 2 of my 50s, my 40, and my 70 left. Let's go with 50 in intelligence, so he processes information decently well. We'll go with 50 in strength. We'll go 70 in constitution. And a 40 in size. Now, one thing I didn't mention that I'm going to go ahead and calculate now is there's also space in here for half values and fifth values. Just like they sound, you're going to take each value, divide by 2, and then by 5 respectively. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. There are occasionally tests that will call for hard successes. You'll be rolling against the half value. And then against if something calls for an extreme success, it'll call for a fifth roll. So that's going to be a 10. Actually, no. Half of 50 is 25, Phoenix. I know we can do first grade math. Let's see, half of that is 35. And fifth of 70 is 14. 20 and 8 on size. 30 and 12 on dexterity. 40 and fifth is 16 for appearance. 25, 10. 25, 10. 30, 12. So it might be a little bit hard to read in pencil, just because I do a fair amount of erasing in Call of Cthulhu. But you can see that I've also gone ahead and compiled the half and fifth stat totals for all of the skills as well. So now it wants us to go to 8. Okay. Entry 8. The driver smokes and watches you as you drag your cases to the back of the motor coach. The rack is set inconveniently high on the vehicle. You get a grip on the heavier case. If your size is 40, go to 23. If your size is higher than this, go to 38. Size we set was a 40, so it is 40, so we go to 23. Okay? You struggle for a few seconds before the driver comes up beside you and lends a hand, still puffing on his cigarette. Heavy bags for a small one, he remarks. You judge it best to respond with a simple thanks. Go to 233. This character is going to be he's going to be very short, but he's going to have the plan is for him to have a bullish setup. So 233. There we are. 233. The driver flicks his cigarette into the gutter and steps into the motor coach. Its engine coughs into life. You board, grateful that you will be the only passenger for the initial part of your trip at least. With mixed emotions, you watch from the windows as the tired avenues of your old home slip behind you, receding into the distance. For a few minutes, you can still see the church spire over the brow of a low hill. Then the road dips, and it, too, is gone. Arkham is your new home. You will travel there and make a new start. You will see 2 smaller boxes to the right of each characteristic value. Have each value rounding down, and write the result in the upper right hex. Also divide each value by 5, again rounding down, and write the result in the lower right box. We will use these numbers later. If you are using the interactive PDF version of the investigator sheet, you'll see that it does all of the math for you. In the strip below, you will see tracks that record sanity and magic points. Beginning sanity is equal to your original power, and beginning magic points are the same as the value you've just arranged for power divided by 5. Mark those on the tracks. Then go to 134. Okay, so our starting sanity is our power, which is 50. And magic points are power divided by 5, so 10 magic points. There are those updated values. And then we go to 134. There we are. The coach putters through the countryside. At first, the interior is stifling and your stomach lurches with every bend in the road. However, the driver opens his window, and by switching seats, you find a spot where the breeze hits your face. You soon relax into the journey, observing the quaint little hamlets that the coach serves. A heavy-set woman boards at one settlement and gives you a polite nod. She gets off at the next one. The road rises a little, passing cornfields and orchards. The leaves are turning and the trees are alive with glorious reds and golds. You have just begun to doze when the driver takes a tight bend at speed. Uh-oh. Add size and constitution together, then divide the total by 10, rounding down. This is the starting value for your hit points. Mark it on your investigator sheet. Your current total may drop, but it is unlikely to exceed the starting value. Okay, size and constitution is... Size plus constitution is 110 divided by 10, so that'll be 11. That'll be 11 hit points. Max of 11, okay? Next paragraph up. You also have a luck score. Roll 3d6. We call this 3d6. Multiply your 3d6 roll by 5 to get your beginning luck score and mark it on your investigator sheet. Let me grab out 2 more d6 from my dice tray since I have it right here. 2, and there's my third die. 3D, what did it say? 3d6 times 5? Yes. 654, that's actually pretty good. So 15 times 5 is 75 luck. So we've got a decent amount of luck on our side for this one. Let's see, here we are. Okay. Now you must make a roll against your dex. Roll D100. This means rolling 2 10-sided dice and using one value for the tens and one value for the units. Unless one die is clearly a tens die, see role-playing dice on page 4 for further details. I've got a set of role-playing dice here that I'm going to use. If you rolled equal to or less than your dex, or if you rolled equal to your dex or less, you passed the roll. If you rolled greater than your dex, you failed the roll. You may be tempted to skip such rolls and simply pretend you always pass. But Call of Cthulhu is a game of mystery and horror. The terrible disasters that can befall your character are part of the fun. You will not necessarily have more fun if you pass every roll than you would have if you failed. If you pass the dex roll, go to 261. If you failed, go to 59. Alright, so our dex is a 60. I'll leave the other 2d6 out. But as you can see with my dice, I do have a clear tens and ones digit, so I'll be using the obvious dice. So my dex here is a 60. I want to be at or below that to pass the test. That's a 42, so we pass the roll. Which sends us to 261. A desperate yell awakens you. You feel yourself slide from the seat as the driver spins the wheel and the motor coach plunges off the road. You grab hold of the seat in front just in time to prevent a painful fall. The coach stops with a thump. Now you see what has happened. A Fordson tractor is stopped in the middle of the road and your driver has had to swerve to avoid the steel obstacle. He leaps from his seat into the road, unleashing a string of curses at the farmer. You take a moment to catch your breath. Perhaps you should offer assistance? But the driver has already returned. He backs up the coach a little and threads it around the tractor, glaring at the farmer. Go to 71. Alright, 71. Says... You resume your journey. The driver takes the roads with more caution curves with more caution than before. He glances over his shoulder at you a couple of times. Sorry about before, he says. That fellow was dumber than a hog. I'm Silas. What's your name? The accident was at least as much Silas's fault as the farmer's, but it doesn't seem shrewd to antagonize the man while he is driving you through the middle of nowhere. Good plan. Make up a name for your character and record it on your investigator sheet. You may add your age. For the purposes of this adventure, your character should probably be aged between 23 and 36. Let's see, so we're going to toss in an age of, let's say, 27, because why not? Actually, if we're implying a high school education based on his education, it would probably make sense that he's a little bit younger than that. Well, maybe not actually, because you might have characters that went to high school, but not much more than that. So let's call him. My original thought was going to say 25, but then high school kind of took me a little bit closer to 18. Although they suggest specifically between 23 and 36, let's say 25. Make this character a male, and we'll call him Barnaby Waitley. Confound it all. Barnaby Waitley. A far-flung relative of the Waitley clan of Dunwich infamy. Okay. The coach turns onto a narrower road which weaves uphill through woodland. Silas becomes chatty. Going to Arkham, eh? Can't say I ever heard of the place. Went to Boston once. Didn't like it. Too much hustle and bustle. You got family there? A special someone waiting? The afternoon is wearing on. You see no harm in confiding in Silas about your new life. A job, eh? What's your line? Choose an occupation for your character from the following options. If you're an antiquarian, go to 102. If you're a doctor of medicine, go to 226. Journalist to 239. Private investigator to 249. Professor to 265. Somebody who's been through the school of hard knocks and is kind of short, stocky, but tough as nails. Probably makes sense for him to be for Barnaby to be a private investigator. So that's what we're going to go with. All right, so private investigator takes us to 249. You skirt around the details of the profession in your usual way, mentioning only that you have helped the police to clear up various problems in the past. Your heart pounds a little faster as you think of the post you have secured at the Blackwood Detective Agency. You've had enough of investigating marital infidelity and bank clerks on the take. It sounds like the Blackwood Agency is just the opportunity you need to cut your teeth on some real villainy. Silas narrows his eyes, but he says nothing. Your credit rating skill is 20%. Your occupation skills are art, craft, photography, disguise, law, library use, psychology, spot hidden, and one of either charm, fast talk, intimidate, or persuade. You may also pick any other skill except Cthulhu Mythos as a personal specialty. Allocate the following values among these occupation skills, writing them in the large square between each. 70, 260s, 350s, and 240s. Ignore any starting value already mentioned on the investigator sheet. Then go to 128. Okay, so we're looking at art, craft, photography, disguise, law, library use, psychology, spot hidden, and one of the four kind of social skills. Let's go with a 70 into fast talk. 60 into disguise. I'll do half and fifth values while I'm at that. 35 and 14. That's two of my 60s. That's my 70 and my 60 gone. Spot hidden with a 60. Let's see, so that's both my 60s gone now. I've got 250s and I've got my 350s and 240s left. Let's go 50 into psychology. 50 into law. I've got 350s left. Let's go. He never was much for the library. Otherwise, he probably would have done better in school. So we'll put a 40 into library use. Let's see. So I think we've got a 50 left for. Yep, we've got a 50 left for photography. And then a 40 for our other skill. Let's go with natural world. All right, then we go to 128. You realize Silas hasn't made a stop since the incident with the tractor. The motor coach winds its way uphill. However, your thoughts are interrupted as the road crests a ridge and you are treated to a magnificent view of the vista below. A creek snakes through the valley, breaking the rich autumn palette of the tree line. In the distance, the white mountains rise into hazy cloud. There is no settlement, not even a cabin, as far as the eye can see. Birds drift through the treetops, and you can just make out what might be two white-tailed deer lingering by the water. Perhaps you are making a mistake by moving to the city. Could you survive on your own in this lush wildlife? You have a base ability in most skills, listed in brackets after the skill name on the investigator sheet. For instance, you have 20% in climb and a base dodge equal to half your dex. Choose 4 skills which are not your occupation skills, nor Cthulhu Mythos. These are your personal interest skills. Boost each of these by 20 points. At this point, you may like to calculate half and fifth values for each skill, in just the same way you did for your characteristics. Remember to round down. If you're bored of calculations, yada yada yada. All of that, then we go to 144. So 4 personal interest skills that are not Cthulhu Mythos. Let's go with the locksmith at 20, which would probably also make sense as a potential occupation skill, but a little bit late for that. So a 10 and a 4. Let's go. Oh, credit rating was 20%. All right, so we need 3 more. Let's go. Let's go occult at 20. That's another one of my personal skills. Mechanical repair at 20. And right at 20. Now go to 144. Okay. The motor coach rattles on through the hills and Silas lapses into silence. The sky darkens behind you, pinks tinting the clouds as the sun descends. Finally, a welcome sight comes into view. A settlement on the crest of a hill. This doesn't look like the pictures you've seen of Ossipee, but perhaps you can persuade Silas to stop while you stretch your legs. Minutes later, a harsh stuttering from the engine interrupts your reverie. Silas frowns and rattles the gear stick. The motor coach falters in its ascent. Silas utters a curse you don't recognize and grinds his teeth, struggling at the wheel. You seem to inch up the hill until you reach the first buildings, low dwellings constructed from a rough red stone. Silas wrestles the coach into a small bay off the road. He scrambles from his seat and makes for the engine compartment. You must now choose to make a roll against Drive Auto or Psychology. If you choose Drive Auto, you need to roll equal to or less than the skill value. If you choose Psychology, you need a hard success. This is a roll equal to or less than half the skill value, the number in the upper right box. You may only attempt 1 skill roll. If you roll a success against Drive Auto, go to 174. If you roll a hard success against Psychology, go to 162. If you fail your roll, go to 194. I don't think we took any points into Drive Auto. No, we didn't. Psychology. We needed 25 against Psychology or 20 against Drive Auto. I think we're going to try a hard roll against Psychology. So before we go into the roll against Psychology, I'll bring the character sheet back up. So you can see that on all of my skills, it might be a little bit hard to read, again, given the pencil. I have put all my points into my skills, and my Psychology here is a 25. So I need a hard success on Psychology. So let's see what happens here. I need to be at or under 25. That is a 12, so I actually will pull off a hard success on that one. So I go to 162. You sense a falseness to Silas's actions. He's acting. Either he is not as aggravated about the breakdown as his behavior suggests, or perhaps the breakdown itself is an act. If this is a ruse to make you spend your time and money in a local shop, he will be sadly disappointed in your purchasing power. On your investigator sheet, checkmark the small box to the left of the word Psychology. If you successfully complete this adventure, you will have the opportunity to learn from your experience with Silas. Go to 194. So before we go to 194, there's the box next to Psychology marked off. So if Barnaby survives this adventure, he'll potentially be able to benefit from his experience. So now we go to 194. Okay. Silas opens the engine compartment and sticks his head inside. The hot metal pops and sizzles. He pokes at various components, then withdraws and wipes his brow, smearing it with dark grease. I ain't sure what's wrong. Might be the oil pressure. Might be something knocked off kilter when we took that spill. Can't do much until the engine cools, neither. And with the light failing, I reckon we'll be here through the night. He wipes his hands on a rag. The shadows from your surroundings are already long and the air is chilly. You feel stiff from the journey and a night in the rickety coach sounds unappealing. Silas sees your dismay. This here's Emberhead, miles from any place. I only come through twice a week. But the folks here are good people. May Ledbetter keeps a spare room. She'll look after you. Up that alley, turn right, first house on the left. He scratches his cheek, looks again into the engine compartment, and spits on the ground. Meet me back here at 8 in the morning, and we'll see how's we stand. To look for May Ledbetter's house, go to 267. To ask Silas where he will spend the night, go to 251. To challenge Silas about the breakdown, go to 257. Given that I sensed Silas's deception, challenging him on the breakdown is a tempting idea, but that's probably not the best idea as we're in the middle of nowhere. But I'm not feeling particularly chatty around him, so I think we're just going to take off and go looking for May's house. So 267. You drag your cases between the sullen buildings. You feel surprisingly weary, considering you have spent all day sitting down. Silas's directions lead you to a modest dwelling with a slate roof. A nameplate reads Ledbetter, and underneath a sign in neat copper plate reads Lodging Room. The lane around you is gloomy, but a lamp flickers in the window. A breeze chills your face. You're not about to begin your new life by sleeping in the street. You rap on the weather-beaten door. Go to 4. I'll take a quick drink from my Crystal Light before we go to entry 4. There we are. And in case you're wondering why I decided to stream this rather than recording it like normal, Call of Cthulhu definitely falls into that category where it would probably make great streaming content. So I'm giving Call of Cthulhu, my first Call of Cthulhu adventure for the month, what I call the baptism by fire on the streaming front. So that's why we're giving this a whirl. Entry 4. After a moment, you hear footsteps inside the house. A bolt is drawn back and the wooden door swings open. A figure with loose curls and a rough-looking house dress peers at you. Her gaze takes in your traveling suit and your cases. Her voice has a slight Irish lilt, which I won't try to imitate. Hello. Should I take it as you're looking for a room for the night? You inquire as to her rates, suppressing a grimace. As far as you've seen, the village does not offer you many alternatives. Oh, you'll find them very reasonable, she says. You look tired. I'm May. Come inside and we'll talk over a cup of tea. The Ledbetter house feels cramped, with a low ceiling and simple fittings, but it is well kept and a cheerful fire crackles in the grate. The aroma of the tea is soothing and the cup warms your fingers. Have you come to Emberhead for the festival? She asks May. To explain what happened with Silas and the coach, go to 14. To ask about the festival, go to 21. Well, let's go with asking about the festival. So go to 21. Well now, I suppose the festival is about the only reason folks come to Emberhead. I thought you had maybe come to study it or take photographs. Well, it's not tomorrow night, but the night after. I suppose it looks very strange to a passerby. May tops up your tea. The spout chinks against your cup. We've got the beacon, you see. One night every year, there's a torchlit procession and we light the beacon on the cliffs. You've never seen the like of it. They say it keeps the spirit of the village alive for another year. It's a celebration. A celebration... She trails off for a moment and blinks. But you didn't come here to listen to me blather, and you must be hungry. I can rustle you up a bit of stew. How would that be? You ask again about her rates, and May names a price so low you accept it without hesitation. The room is small but comfortable, and the stew dark and hearty. After dinner, you have a couple of hours before your usual bedtime. To talk to May some more, go to 31. To walk around and get your bearings, go to 75. To turn in for an early night, go to 63. Why don't we let's walk around a little bit to get our bearings. So go to 75. May's brow creases when you announce your intention to take a stroll. Mind how you go, she says. Emberhead's surrounded by cliffs, and we don't have your fancy street lamps here. Take the lantern and watch your step. Outside, you see what she means. The sky is overcast, and only a few glimmers of moonlight peek from the clouds. Without the heavy lantern, you would be walking in near total darkness. You cannot hope to get an overview of the village tonight. May's Street is a narrow passage hemmed in by squat, dark dwellings. At the end, however, it opens up. A wide thoroughfare leads off to your right. A crude sign names it Silbury Street. To the left, a few yards away, your light picks out the crooked posts of a simple fence, and beyond that, the ground drops away into darkness. You take a couple of steps closer, but you can see nothing. Air from below cools your face. Then some instinct makes you turn around. Go to 86. What's making him turn around? What's making Barnaby turn around? Let's find out. An ink-black figure stands in the road about 20 yards behind you. It stares at you. You form a sudden impression that it will run at you and throw you over the cliff edge. This is unsettling. Seeing it's been spotted, the figure slips down an alley. To return to the safety of the Ledbetter house, go to 100. To confront the dark figure, go to 121. Well, we're trying to get some information, so let's confront the dark figure and see what we're up against here. 121. As you approach, the figure takes a pace back, then another. It slips down an alley between two buildings. To catch your target, you must make a track roll. If you succeed, go to 141. If you fail, go to 130. So our track is probably a base of 10%. So we need to be at or under 10 on this roll to succeed. Which, I don't like our odds of that. That's an 85. We could spend luck to make that happen, but I don't feel like spending 75 luck to get a pass on that. So that's just going to send us over to 130. Okay. 130. The figure moves fast with almost silent steps. You are hampered with a heavy lantern in an unfamiliar environment. You emerge from the alley into a dusty courtyard and can detect no sign of your quarry. You scratch around for a few minutes, but the figure has gone. It seems unwise to continue your stroll through unknown, dark streets while this threatening presence is abroad. You head back to the Ledbetter house. May lets you in and settles back in her chair. Soon she begins to yawn. I believe I'll turn in. When did you like your breakfast? Go to 63. 63 says... Once we get there... As May stands, you hear a clunk behind you. You look over your shoulder, but all you can see is a wooden door securely closed. May tuts. The young lady of the house. She'll have been listening to us. Ruth, come and greet our guest. There's a short pause, then the door creaks open. Two wide eyes peer at you from the gap between tousled hair and a rough nightgown. What do you say? The eyes blink. Pleased to meet you. Now get back to bed. The door closes again. My daughter Ruth. 10 years this summer. She's a delight and a torment all in one. Don't worry. She sleeps in with me. She'll not disturb you. Good night now. You retire to your room. It is a little chilly, but you are too tired to worry about lighting the fire. The sheets are clean and the bed soon warms up. The silence outside is strange after living in a town for so long, but you soon drop off. Now go to 154. You dream of fire in the grate. coruscating colors shimmering through the dancing tongues of flame. At first they are tiny, almost microscopic, but they grow and grow until a kaleidoscopic inferno spills from the fireplace, spreading across the floor, up the sheets. You wake with a start. Daylight glints through the curtains. You get up and examine the grate, blinking the sleep from your eyes. It is quite cold. If you have taken any damage, you may heal 1 hit point back for your night's sleep. Now go to 166. May seems to have no running water, but has supplied some in a ceramic jug. You freshen up at the washstand and go in. She cooks a hearty breakfast and leaves you in peace to eat. At about 7:30, you are you're paid up, packed, and ready to go. You bid May goodbye, and she wishes you the best for your new career in Arkham. If you succeeded at a skill roll last night and wish to investigate the results further, go to 178. Otherwise, go to 192. We didn't succeed at a skill roll. We tried, but we couldn't get there. So, 186 is where we're going. Wait, right? 186? 192 is where we want to go. Never mind. You are already tired of your heavy bags. Hopefully, Silas has repaired the motor coach and you can resume your long journey. A sourpuss he may be, but the old driver seems to understand his vehicle well enough. You pause to check your watch, still 20 minutes early, and round the final corner. The motor coach is gone. You put your bags down and search the area, trekking up and down slopes and around corners. At the edge of the village, you trace the long road back as it winds across the hills. 8 o'clock comes and goes. There is no coach to be seen. A passing villager notices your bags. Looking for the bus? I heard him take off at first light. He's due back in 3 or 4 days. If you need a place to stay, May Ledbetter rents a room. The man raises his hat to you and strolls on into the village. You curse Silas under your breath. Perhaps he went for parts, but you wonder if the old goat has stranded you here on purpose. Go to 218. I knew there was a falseness to Silas's actions. 218, here we are. May is doing laundry and looks surprised to see you again. Forget something? When you explain the situation, she offers to store your bags while you try to arrange alternative transport. You are grateful to relinquish the load. Nobody here has anything like a car. She strokes her chin and narrows her eyes. Maybe you could find somebody with a horse and a cart for your bags. I could ask around later. Try Mr. Winters at the village hall. He'll know if anyone will. Or ask among the artisans. Their workshops are first left on Silbury Street. She reaches over and squeezes your wrist. Don't worry. I won't see you sleeping in the street. Money or no money. You thank May and turn to face the village. Go to 6. Even without knowing this village, well, I don't know. I was going to say, without knowing this village, I might be suspicious, but then I might not be. Anyway, let's have a look at entry 6. You wander the streets of Emberhead without any particular destination in mind. The village is built on a relatively flat upland with splendid views. To the north, the hazy tips of the White Mountains reach for the heavens. To the south, the sparkling waters of Lake Winnipesaukee touch the horizon. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that. The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. You arrived on the winding road to the west. The only other road leads to the south, following a lower ridge of land as it turns east. In the southwest of the village, an open grassy space borders a ruined church, its graveyard cresting the cliffs. To the northeast, the 3 main thoroughfares meet at a raised black metal structure. It looms, stark against the blue sky. You may now ask about transport at the local general store, go to 16. Seek out the village hall, go to 84. Walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road, go to 115. Examine the large metal structure, go to 57. Explore the church, go to 34. Look for local people with their own transport needs, go to 96. Let me grab a quick drink while I have a think about that. Okay, let's Let's make our first order of business examining the metal structure. So go to 57. You walk up the approach, the most central of the village's major streets. It points directly at the odd metal structure. As you emerge from the shade of the nearby buildings, you are greeted by a magnificent panorama spread from the north to the southeast. The last colors of fall tint the hills in a sleepy gold. The structure, by contrast, is made from uncompromising iron singed black. It supports an immense curved platform at the level of your head. Further struts snake up to a central point. It looks like they may have been some kind of sculpture at one time, but are now twisted and melted beyond recognition. An older gentleman passes, looking up at you with rheumy eyes. "Are you here for the festival?" he asks. "That's the beacon. When they light it, night after next, you'll be able to see it 10 miles away." He gives a little nod of satisfaction, then moves on, leaning on his walking stick. Now you notice bundles of wood, tied and stacked against the buildings nearby. Perhaps this festival would be an interesting diversion, but you really must head to Arkham as soon as possible. Make a spot hidden roll. If you succeed, go to 69. Otherwise, go to 25. I think spot hidden ended up being one of our, it's one of our occupation skills, and we have a 60 in spot hidden. That's a 21, so we very much passed that easily, and that would have been a hard success anyway. So go to 69. As you walk away from the iron structure, you notice something strange about the construction of the village. All the wooden dwellings are concentrated in the west and southwest. To the east and northeast, closest to the beacon, the buildings are formed from dark brick and clay. Does this mean the settlement began at the beacon and spread west? You may check mark the small box beside the spot hidden skill. Now go to 25, which I will go ahead and check that off. And over to 25. Okay. You're beginning to get your bearings in Emberhead. Would you like to explore some more? So we can choose another one of the options that we haven't already done yet. Let's go explore the church next. So go to 34. You cross the street towards the church. As you glance to your left, your gaze alights on the large metal structure. Something bothers you about its positioning. You back up and look again. Yes, Emberhead's central thoroughfare points directly at the structure. This seems too precise to be a coincidence. You press on and draw into the shadow of the church. The building is in a sorry state. The top of the steeple is missing, a ragged gash of splintered boards marking its absence, and the floors beneath it have collapsed. It appears to have torn through the roof of the main building as it fell. Only the back half is still intact. The white paint, which once covered the church, has yellowed and peeled. It seems safe enough to explore the rear section. Old pews are stacked against the wall, choked with mildew. Most of the windows are broken. You guess this church has been disused for about 20 years. There is little more to interest you. Make a ride roll. You may have a bonus die. Roll the tens percentage die twice and take the lower result. If you succeed, go to 46. Otherwise, back to 25. So our ride is a 20. We actually took some skill in that. So let's see what happens on our ride roll. Remember, we have a bonus die, so we're going to roll the tens die twice and take the lower result. That's a 33 and a 33 or a 73. So even taking a 33 means we could spend 13 luck, but I'm not going to. So I'm just going to fail that out and go into 25. So we're back here. Let's go to the local general store and ask about transport. The general store is on a corner beside the main road, just before it plunges to the south. The shopkeeper is a brisk, immense lady with a starched apron and strong shoulders. She looks hard at your unfamiliar face. Transport? There's a motor coach comes through twice a week. Missed it? Truck brings in my supplies every second Tuesday, but he's not due until next week. She shrugs. It seems Emberhead is content to keep its distance from the outside world. You have enough money to buy 1 or 2 inexpensive everyday items here. Note them down on your investigator sheet. Remember the year is 1927. The shop stocks no weapons except a dusty hunting rifle, which you may purchase if you want, then go to 25, which I don't want to purchase that. And then for our last entry, we're going to walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road, so let's go to 115. Here we are. The air is fresh and the walk down to the lower ridge invigorating. You notice cultivated fields stretching through the lowlands around Emberhead, and among the crops some livestock, but no horses. Are you going to have to make your onward journey on foot? Further down, the road skirts the edge of the ridge and descends. There are a few scattered hovels here with signs of habitation. They are set a substantial distance apart. As you examine them, a door opens and an older man steps out. He wears a bedraggled suit but carries a piece of cloth, which he tosses over his head like a hood. As he does this, he sees you and freezes. Make a luck roll. If you succeed, go to 127. If you fail, turn to 135. 127, and our luck is a 75 because we've been stingy about spending luck. And of course, luck is the one test that we can't spend luck on to make pass. So let's see what happens here. That's a 92, so we of course fail that one miserably. Go to 135. The strange man breaks into a run, fleeing from you along the ridge. His gait is lopsided, but his movements have a maniacal intensity. If you give chase, turn to 150. If you have better things to do, turn to 160. Well, there's not much to do in Emberhead, so let's give chase. Alright. You break from the road and pursue the man, feeling wild grass snatch at your feet. He sprints around the ridge, attempting to elude you behind the very rocks that support the metal structure high above. To catch the man, you must make an opposed roll with your dex versus his. The man has dex 38. He scores a hard success on a 19 and under, and an extreme success of 7 and under. Make the man's dex roll, then make yours. Compare your level of success. An extreme success beats a hard success, which beats a regular success, which beats a failure. If there's a draw, the higher skill value wins. If you win the opposed roll, go to 172. If you fail, go to 87. So his dex roll is a 38. That's a 48, which is a fail. My dex is a 60, so I just need a success on this. That's an 11. That would be, for dex from me, that would be an extreme success. So I definitely am going to run him down on this one. So, where were we? Here we are. Go to 172. You draw close to the man. He glares over his shoulder and sees you. Damn you, he spits and slows down. Can't you leave a fellow be? You assure him you mean him no harm. We can't talk here, he says. Follow me. Go to 142. You follow the man around the outcrop. He glances up, then steps between two rocks and vanishes. Closer inspection reveals a narrow channel leading into the cliff. There is just enough light to see a small, natural chamber within. You will be uncomfortably close to this man if you go inside. To follow him in, go to 191. To keep your distance, go to 160. You know what? We spent all this time chasing him down. Let's follow him in. So 191. There we are. With wary steps, you squeeze between rocky outcrops and enter the concealed chamber, almost banging your head on the low ceiling. The man settles back against the wall and watches until you draw close. Then he slides back his hood. Make a sanity roll. If you fail, lose 1 sanity, then go to 199. Sanity rolls work much the same way as our other skill rolls. I'm pretty sure you can't spend luck on these either, though. Let me double check that. Let's see. Summary, not magic rules. I don't think that's what I want. Probably a section on skill rolls. I know there's an index in this. There we go. I was going to say, I know there's an index in this keeper sanity roll. There we go. 85. Let's see. Doo-doo-doo. Roll dice. Skill roll. I was hoping for an explanation about if I can spend luck on sanity rolls, but I'm pretty sure the answer to that is no. 154. Bonus dice and... Okay, luck points can't be spent on sanity, so my sanity here is a 50. That's a 24, so that would be a hard success anyway. Now we go to 199. Some of the man's face remains. A strip from the side of his jaw to his right eye socket is healthy and pale, if aged. But the left side is consumed by angry scar tissue. One eye droops, hooded by melted flesh, and the nostril on that side is pulled open to leave a gaping hole. The disfigured man studies your reaction with his one good eye. Name's Arbogast. Willard Arbogast. Guess I don't need to ask you what brings you to Emberhead. If you claim to have come for the festival, go to 206. If you admit that Silas has stranded you here, go to 214. Well, I'm pretty sure at this point Silas has stranded us here, so let's go to 214. That swollen mouth gives a little twist downward. Son of a devil has rat's blood. His fingers tighten into a fist. Go to 221. Arbogast fixes you with a lopsided yet intense stare. You seek me out, eh? He looks up at the cave ceiling. Which one of them told you about me? Never mind, it don't matter. Truth is, they fear what I know. They'd never come at me direct. Don't want to end up like old Arbogast. He giggles. The high-pitched sound is all the more grotesque coming from those bloated lips. Then, abruptly, his gaze turns to iron. Emberhead died 40 years ago. Shattered by flame, consumed by the stars themselves. The ancient hill was cleansed by inferno, and from the blackened ground came new life, as is the way of all things. The Abenaki knew. Arbogast wipes his nose on his sleeve. Except none of that happened. The flames were turned away. The necessary death postponed a year, and a year again, and now those up there, he stabs a scrawny finger at the ceiling, think themselves saviors of the village, think they can defy the great old ones. Yah! Cthulhu! He shakes his head. With strange aeons, their lives matter less than the blink of an eye. A fierce intelligence burns in his gaze, but you suspect Arbogast may be quite insane. Should his mood change, it would not be difficult for him to seize one of the loose rocks and crack your skull with it. To ask Arbogast about the Abenaki, turn to 227. Ask him about the great old ones, turn to 237. About the villagers, 245. To leave while you still can, go to 253. I want to get some information out of him, so let's ask him about the Abenaki. The Abenaki? He frowns. They knew this land and cherished it. They lived here in harmony for their allotted time. Air and earth, water and fire. They accepted every daybreak as a gift, and they trod lightly on the land. Yet we came and we ended them. Their time is past. Now ours, too, must end. Arbogast runs a hand through his hair. A wide strip is missing on the left side, displaced by scar tissue. He climbs to his feet. Turn to 259. Arbogast pauses in the shadows. There's something about you, something the previous ones never had. Perhaps you can make it through. If you want to hear more, meet me again after dark. 9 o'clock. The graveyard on the other side. He lifts a gnarled finger. Don't be followed, else I won't be there. This ain't the time of year for a showdown. Arbogast wipes his nose on his sleeve again. Go now. Their eyes are on me. And stranger, don't try to run. You'll never make it. You emerge into the sunlight blinking and more than a little shaken. You have discovered a secret. Later tonight, the text will offer you a chance to follow up on a previous appointment. At that point, if you want to meet with Arbogast again, add 20 to your current entry number and go to that entry. For now, go to 160. All right, so let me make a quick note of that. Secret equals entry plus 20. 160. You turn back to the road and your core business, getting out of Emberhead and onwards to Ossipee. The ridge gives you a good viewpoint from which you can see the course of the road. It winds with the hills, disappearing into woodland for a while before emerging further on. You lose sight of it somewhere toward the second patch of woodland. By your best estimation, that is at least 6 or 7 miles distant. You see no other settlements or traffic. It may be worth taking a chance and walking. The weather is still mild, but you'll need supplies before you attempt it. Go to 25. All right, back to 25, which I suspect is our hub entry. Yep. So we're at our hub. We have asked about transport, walked down to the lower road, large metal structure, explored the church. Okay, so now we're going back to 3. All right. Your morning exertions have left you hungry. You roam the streets of Emberhead looking for sustenance. There is nothing resembling the busy cafes of your hometown or anything that might be called a restaurant. It is beginning to look like you will have to get supplies from the general store when May Ledbetter comes down the street with a girl trailing in her wake. This must be Ruth. As she notices you, she races past her mother and approaches you with a smile. This is a different Ruth from the shy creature of last night. As she reaches you, she stops and stretches her arms up in celebration. She looks into your eyes. Abruptly, the smile drops from her face and she looks several years older. Get out before the festival, she hisses. Get out! She blinks hard, then scuttles back toward her mother. May approaches, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulders. She smiles. How are you getting on? Have you found transport? Startled, you explain the frustrations of your situation. I'd try Mr. Winters in the village hall. He's always in of an afternoon. You'll be hungry by now? Help yourself to any food in the house. The door's not locked. You glance at Ruth, where she has squirreled herself behind her mother's leg. Her eyes implore you to silence. If you ask Ruth about what she said, go to 9. If you ask May about what Ruth said, go to 15. If you say nothing, go to 22. Well, we already know there's something off about this town, and I don't completely know if May's in on it yet. So I think for now, we're going to play a little bit close. We know something's not right, but I think we're going to sit tight on the knowledge for the time being. So go to 22. You take your leave of the Ledbetters and head towards their house. The door opens easily. In the low kitchen, you make a meal from stodgy bread and leftover stew. A little window offers a view to the mountains. If you learned one thing this evening, it was that Emberhead streets hold little to occupy the visitor from out of town, but there is still about 5 hours of daylight remaining. You could take some provisions and the bare essentials from your luggage and set out in the hopes of reaching another settlement before dark. Or you could ask advice from this Mr. Winters. If you prepare and walk out of town, go to 28. If you head to the village hall instead, go to 11. There isn't really that much here to keep our attention, but at the same time, What Ruth said about not being able to make it is kind of weighing on my mind a little bit. So I think we're going to poke around for a little more information. So let's go to the village hall. So go to 11. The village hall overlooks the lower north ridge of the village. You walk along Silbury Street to find it, conscious of the oppressive black metal structure framed at the end of the road. The shutters of the hall are opened and some windows left ajar. There is no knocker, but a little bell over the entrance tinkles as you push the front door. Inside, a sturdy door to your right is marked Private. To your left, an opening leads through to a bright room. You take a few steps inside. Benches line the walls, and there are 2 notice boards mounted between the windows. To examine the notice boards, go to 17. To knock on the closed door, go to 24. Let's just knock on the closed door and see what we find there. You raise your hand to knock on the door, but it opens before you can complete the movement. The middle-aged gentleman takes an involuntary step back, adjusting his spectacles. You hasten to apologize and introduce yourself. He steadies himself and peers at you. I see. I'm Clyde Winters. Just visiting, you say? And you've come to see me? Care for some coffee? I usually take a cup around this time of the afternoon. His invitation seems genuine enough and a good opportunity to ask any questions that are on your mind. Go to 43. All right. You step through the door marked Private. The other side of the village hall is in marked contrast to the public space. The room is compact, lined with shelves of books and file alcoves. One corner is reserved for a tiny pantry and what is presumably a water closet. You study Mr. Winters as he fills the percolator. Although thin on top, his hair is oiled and neatly swept back. His suit is a sober affair, and well-tailored even if the cut is a little old-fashioned. A lesser man working alone might have loosened his bow tie for comfort. On the desk of the opposite wall, you notice what looks like a telegraph set. To ask about the telegraph immediately, go to 56. To make small talk with Mr. Winters first, go to 49. Given that I'm trying to play this a little bit close, let's make small talk first. The pot begins to gurgle as you exchange pleasantries with Winters. Living here? Living here? It's a trade-off, like so much in life. He looks past you at a high shelf. I could wish for access to a proper library, of course, but I know myself well enough. I'm strictly a dabbler. And the cities? His face wrinkles in distaste. Too many people. Everybody rushing and shouting. We have a special place here in Emberhead, and someone must accept responsibility for keeping it so. That was my father before me, and now the duty falls to me. He lifts his chin and straightens up. This evening, as the sun sets, look out at the landscape around the village. We have peace up here, halfway to the stars. Are we not privileged? Is this not worth the hardship we must endure? He looks at you speculatively. This seems a good time to ask about the telegraph. Go to 56. The telegraph? As much as we value our isolation, we do need the link sometimes. You were hoping to send a message? I must apologize. The line has been down for 2 weeks. I reported the fault, but of course, they're not so speedy when the problem lies in a rural area. I'm expecting a repair the day after next. I do appreciate how frustrating this must be. The coach is due in, 3 days? But I think he's going west. Perhaps you might engage a wagon? One of the farmers might... You explain that you have asked a few of the residents already, but to no avail. I tell you what. Winters pours you a steaming cup of coffee. The dark liquid smells rich and strong. When the repair crew arrive, I'll ask them to take you back with them. How would that be? They might want $1 or 2 to grease the wheels. The day after tomorrow? It's less than ideal, but it's the first real opportunity you've had. To thank Winters and leave, go to 180. To ask about his library, go to 62. Let's ask about the library out of curiosity. You make a small but flattering remark about a couple of the volumes on his shelves. Winters blushes with pleasure. Well, of course they're not my personal collection. They belong to the village, he says, but I did select most of the recent items. This is the community's library, you see. I put up the private sign to stop people just wandering in from meetings in the other room. But this really is a public space. You scan the shelves. There's a sparse but respectable collection on mathematics and the sciences, passable sections on history and arts, and a shelf of literature. He has a few lowbrow novels tucked away in a corner, with tatty copies of Bizarre Tales magazine. Quality does not always equate to popularity, I'm afraid. Winters gives you an apologetic smile. To take the time for some research in the library, go to 68. To leave while it is still light outside, go to 180. Let's see if we can take some time for research. Winters is happy for you to spend the rest of the afternoon in study and offers you an upright but comfortable chair. You have enough time to pursue one line of research in depth. To read about the history of the area, go to 74. To read about the festival, go to 81. To read something from the sciences, go to 88. To read some of the weird fiction, go to 94. Let's look at some of the weird fiction. That's kind of curious. Winters raises an eyebrow when you settle down with the tatty magazines, but says nothing. The stories in Bizarre Tales are fanciful affairs of prisons in orbit, devils imprisoning middle-aged women, and mechanical spiders traveling between planets through radio waves. You become immersed in a science fiction story in which unfathomable stiltmen stride through a steaming swamp beneath the moon's surface, enthralled to floating mesmeric brains. The improbable, eerie tale amuses and relaxes you, and puts your recent difficulties into context. If you have lost sanity, you may restore 1 point. Now go to 99. The afternoon wears on. You have not quite finished your reading when Winters glances out of the window and stands up. He clears his throat. Make a credit rating roll. If you succeed, go to 111. If you fail, go to 105. My credit rating is not great on this character. He's a 20. Private investigator and all that. That's a 7, though. That's actually a hard success, which sends us over to 111. I'm happy to leave you in charge for a half an hour or so. He smiles. Please don't issue any books without a valid library card. You thank Winters for his trust and continue with your reading for a time. As the light dims, you find yourself yawning in the closeness of the room. Perhaps it is time for a change of material. Make a spot hidden roll. If you succeed, go to 118. Fail to 124. Spot hidden once again is a 60. That's a 57, so that's good enough for a success. 118. As you scan the shelves, you try to move aside one of the 3 volumes of Walpole's A Comprehensive Grammar of the Andean Peoples. It will not shift, and upon further inspection you find the 3 volumes are actually glued together and attached to the wall. Is this some kind of unobtrusive way to reinforce the shelves? You hear footsteps in the hall and, on instinct, move away from this curious discovery. We've already checked the box next to Spot Hidden, so now we go to 124. The door opens and Winters re-enters the library. He wears a small, satisfied smile. His gaze shifts to you where you stand at the shelves. Exhausted our stock already? Of course we accept donations. He chuckles. I'm afraid it's closing time. You leave the building with Winters and waits as he locks up. You thank him for the coffee and the access to the library. He strolls away down Silbury Street. Now go to 180. Let's see, 180. Here we go. As the light fades, you return to the Ledbetter house and eat a light supper. May is unusually taciturn. Ruth's eyes flick to yours several times during the meal. There is an urgency there that you cannot quite interpret. Afterwards, May ushers the girl into their room. You have been in Emberhead for barely 1 whole day, and you already feel confined by it, both geographically and socially. The evening seems to offer little. To do some stargazing, go to 131. To attempt to speak to Ruth, go to 138. If you have a previous appointment, this is the time to follow it up. Let's follow it up. So adding 20 to the entry, which sends us to 200. Arbogast is not at the appointed meeting place. You give him 10 minutes, but he doesn't show. You curse the old crank and head back toward May's house. Psst! A hand snakes from a doorway and grabs your arm. You jump at that sight of that half face glimpsed in starlight. One of them's near, he whispers, watching. Come with me. Go to 169. Arbogast leads you across the thoroughfares, slipping between houses. The metal structure looms at the end of the street. Silent now, he says, but the beacon will come alive tomorrow night. He ushers you into a little alcove beyond the village school. Arbogast glances behind you, then sits down. Again you feel uncomfortable in that proximity to that scarred visage. One melted eyelid lifts. You don't have long. Understand this. I was the conduit, the interpreter. Before that fool Winters and his fancy words. The things which come to Emberhead care not for words. Those idiots think this is a ritual of sacrifice? He spits on the grass. It is a ritual of control. They know the words, but they do not comprehend the forces they call. He sniffs and sits back. No, you have no time for more questions. I will teach you how to end it, in the moment when all is lost. You can return this hill to the earth, to the death that came 40 years ago. I have tried it myself, but... His head sags. I no longer have the concentration. The chant is simple. It I can teach you, but you must perform it with a clarity of mind that I have lacked for years. If you will learn this strange chant, go to 175. If you have had enough of Arbogast, go to 182. Something's up, and I'm willing to play along at this point. Let's learn this chant. You feel very dislocated from reality as you sit on a cliff top behind a school at night, learning a chant by rote from a madman. Arbogast is careful to teach you it in its sections. He glances at the sky. Won't work right now. Cloud covering the star. But he still takes care not to pronounce the whole thing at once. It has a rhythmic beginning and various elaborations, but the core passage is repeated 3 times, and that's gibberish I'm not going to try. In time, Arbogast listens to your recital and nods. Remember every sound, but never speak it if you have plans left on this earth. You have discovered a secret. If your situation ever becomes desperate enough to try Arbogast's ritual, the text will offer you the option to chant. At that point, if you want to try it, add 10 to your current entry number and go to that new entry. Arbogast leans back. It will make you one with the living. Go to 188. So chant. So now we've learned chant. This entry plus 10. 188. A black shape lunges from the dark. It wraps an arm around Arbogast's throat and drags him backwards out of the alcove. He grabs at the arm, kicking empty air. You see the gleam of a long blade in the moonlight. Make a dodge roll. If you succeed, go to 195. Fail to 203. My dodge is half my dex, which is a 30. Not great odds, but let's see what happens. 53 is not going to get it done, so that goes to 203. Something smashes you on the temple. You reel back. You hear Arbogast yell and see the knife flash 1, 2, 3 times. Its shiny surface darkening with blood. Something strikes you again, and as you sink, flames leap from the ground, painting the night with infernal color. They pick out 3 dark figures. Take 1d6 damage, go to 45. 1d6 damage. 5 damage. Ouch, that almost cuts my health in half. So that's going to bring me down to 6. And now we go to 45. All right, 45. You awake with a jolt, wrestling the blankets, ready for attack. The Ledbetter guest house is quiet, painted with morning light. There's nobody here but you. You release the blankets and wait for your heart to stop hammering. Go to 64. Here we are. The Ledbetter kitchen is empty, although bread and eggs have been laid out for your breakfast. There is a note from May explaining that she has taken Ruth out for a few hours. If you were involved in a fight in the village last night and want to investigate the aftermath, go to 70. Otherwise, go to 78. Let's investigate the aftermath. You feel skittish as you approach the spot where you and Arbogast were attacked. Your memory of the encounter is shaky, but you remember one or two vivid images. At first, you think there is nothing to see, no discarded weapons or figures lying unconscious, but upon closer examination, you find sticky, congealed patches and blackened lines in the grass. If the village had a police station, you could go there, but something tells you events have gone beyond that. Go to 78. Well, we'll find out how bad they've gone, presumably. You make a quiet circuit of the village, pausing in unobtrusive places to watch the villagers. It is rather busy for this time in the morning. Yawning locals stream back and forward along the roads, carrying bundles of split logs to the site of what you've heard referred to as the beacon. You see two figures already up in its superstructure, arranging the wood. The festival bonfire will be most impressive, but do you intend to stay to see it? You suspect by now that something is amiss here. While the villagers are distracted, you may do some illicit investigation, or you may simply leave town without looking back. You may now search May Ledbetter's bedroom, go to 83. Go alone to the village hall, go to 126. Take a closer look at the artisan's courtyard, go to 219. Spy on activity at the beacon, go to 29. Or slip down the road and try to flee for good, go to 7. Something's never been right with May. She's always seemed to be in just the right place at just the right time with just the right answer. Let's check out her bedroom first. Let's go to 83. Despite her hospitality, you don't trust May Ledbetter. You return to her house quite openly. Where else would you go? Inside, the dwelling is still empty. You rap on the bedroom door and wait. Silence. You ease it open. The Ledbetter bedroom is in marked contrast to your own neat space. Dirty clothes are piled about the floor. On a rough quilt lie schoolbooks and cheap towels. You notice a raggedy old doll discarded down the side of the bed. Make a spot hidden roll. If you succeed, go to 95. Fail to 89. Once again, our spot hidden is a 60. This is our third spot hidden roll that we've made this adventure. So we are looking at a 60. That is a 79. That's problematic. So we fail that, which sends us to 89. You go through the Ledbetter's drawers. The only item of interest is a wedding photograph. May's husband was a wiry man with a square chin. Despite the formality of the pose, you can see the affection between them. You feel a pang of guilt at your intrusion. Also, May might return at any time. If you wish to push the spot hidden roll, make the roll again. If you succeed, go to 95. If you fail, go to 101. If you don't want to risk it, go to 120. Let's push it. Once again, we're looking at a 60. That's a 27. That's going to be a hard success. So that sends us to 95. You notice scrapes on the floorboard corresponding to the length of the bed. With effort, you slide the bed away. There is a rug spread beneath it, and beneath the rug, a trap door. You ease it open. The dark space beneath is some kind of cellar. To descend in the cellar, go to 114. If you would rather give this up, go to 120. Let's head into the cellar. We didn't take all this effort. Let's see, 114. Okay. The daylight barely offers enough illumination to see, but a hot lantern during daytime would be very suspicious. You squeeze beneath the floor and glance around. Your first impression is that May keeps her junk here, for there are many boxes of different sizes piled in untidy heaps. It takes a few seconds before you realize that they are all traveling trunks or suitcases. There's about 20 of them. The implication hits you hard, yet you maintain enough control to check the luggage tags. You count 8 or 9 different names before you stop. Scrambling back up to the bedroom, you close the door with trembling fingers, returning the bed to its place. Go to 120. You feel a deepening unease about Emberhead and this day in particular. Once you have attempted 3 of the options below, go to 98. Let's go spy on activity at the beacon, so we'll go to 29. The northern side of the village is bustling, and you are unlikely to remain hidden there for long. You head in the direction of the church and then move up the east side behind the houses. A drop looms on your right. One particular section of ground is quite narrow, and you have to hug the building for support. You may give up this approach and go to 120. To proceed, compare your size to your dex. If your dex is higher, go to 42. If your size is higher, make a size roll. If you succeed, rolling equal to or lower than your size, go to 42. If you fail, go to 36. Let's see, my size to my dexterity. My dexterity is higher, so I'm going to 42. The turf sinks beneath your feet and stones crumble from its edge. Alarmed, you grip the building and ease yourself forward. Finally, you have a good spot to watch the beacon. Go to 61. You lie concealed in the grass and watch the activity around the beacon. Villagers bring in yet more bundles of tinder and stack them in neat piles. Another shift passes the bundles up to a pair of men standing on the raised platform of the beacon. They are constructing a triangular structure, resembling a gigantic campfire. As you watch, you are struck by the manner of the laborers. This is their festival. You would expect a cheerful atmosphere and some lighthearted conversation. Yet the faces of some show resignation and detachment. Others, a naked dread. You watch for a good half hour before you slip away. Go to 120. So we're back here. So we've searched May Ledbetter's bedroom. We've spied on activity in the beacon. Something's not right here. Now I think we're going to try to get out of here. So let's flee down the road and try to go to 7. As you approach the southern road that descends to the lower ridge, you see 4 villagers blocking the route, with farm tools and clubs. You veer off and head toward the west road. Your heart sinks as you see exactly the same scene at the other exit from the village. You're trapped. To try to talk your way past one of the guard groups, go to 119. To try to slip past in disguise, go to 125. Or, do you know another way to leave the village? Well, I'd be asking to make a disguise roll, so let's try a disguise. So 125. On the other side of May Ledbetter's street, you see a washing line with some baggy, crumpled clothes. It's not a lot to work with, but you use your own clothes as stuffing, improvise a hat, and change your gait to a stooped shamble. Nobody gives you a second look as you limp towards the southern exit from the village. The guards are still at their station, scrutinizing passers-by, but they are beginning to look bored. Make a hard disguise roll. If you succeed, go to 146, fail to 139. A hard disguise roll for me would be a 30, and I've got plenty of luck I could spend on this if I think I need to. So I'm looking at a 30. That is an 83. That is not going to get it done. That wouldn't even get it done on a normal success, so 139. These locals are not as stupid as you think. They grab you and march you back into the center of the village. Go to 108. Delightful. So they're obviously trying to keep us here. The fading light from a narrow window tells you afternoon is giving way to evening. Your hands are shackled behind your back so you cannot even lie down on the rough bed. A woman you have not seen before comes in. Her face is wrinkled and her eyes dull. They don't meet yours, but she puts a cup to your lips. To accept the drink, go to 104. To reject it, go to 113. We might as well accept the drink. Maybe it'll be over quicker. You drink from the cup. It holds cool, refreshing water, which you gulp down. When it's empty, she turns to leave. You speak to her, but she steps outside and closes the door. Later, you try yelling. Your voice must be audible outside, but it has no effect. It seems the entire village is involved. Go to 205. Delightful. Let's see, 205. Come on. There we are. As the light fades outside, your little prison becomes dark. You can hear much activity around the building. Occasionally, an orange glow passes the window. The only comfortable position in the shackles seems to be to sit against the end of the bed with your arms hanging behind you. You need to concentrate and come up with a plan. There's clearly no escape from your bonds. You do not know exactly what your captors want from you, but you can't ignore the fact that they have spent the entire day constructing a massive bonfire. Go to 27. Oh boy. Constructing a massive bonfire, have they? The door scrapes, wrenching you back into the moment. Orange light spills into the house from blazing torches held at the threshold. Two large villagers step in and grab you. At least, you assume they are villagers. They wear heavy black cloaks, and their faces and hands are painted entirely black, save only for a red triangle centered on their left eye. You try to drag your legs, but they reach under your arms and lift you bodily from the bed. Outside, it seems the whole village has congregated to see you. Every single one has a blackened face with the red triangle motif. Torches sputter and spill fire. You struggle, but you can see physical resistance is hopeless. You are marched to the central street and turn to face the beacon. Go to 117. Oh, this is going to be fun. The procession down the approach is slow and formal, save when you sense weakness and yank at your captors. A chill touches you when you see three human shapes carried ahead of you, draped in red cloth. The beacon looms larger and larger, its dreadful silhouette a black triangle pointing to the stars. A low drone begins among the cloaked figures. Unbidden, the word mourners comes to mind. Smoke from their torches makes you cough. You feel heat on your face. As you reach the cleared area around the beacon, three dancers break from the pack. Young girls swinging balls of fire in spectacular arcs, drawing circles in the night air. One by one, they draw close to you and touch your forehead with sooty fingers. Each kisses you 3 times. On the left cheek, right cheek, then forehead. Then they whisper in your ear. The smell of kerosene fills your nostrils. Make an appearance roll. If you succeed, go to 10. Fail to 148. Appearance is an 80, so it's basically like a charisma roll almost. That's a 31, so that would be good for a hard success against an appearance roll, so over to 10. Through your sacrifice, the village will be reborn, says the first dancer. You pass from earth to air for all our sakes, says the second. I've weakened the chains, says the third. Don't try to escape until the flames are high enough to hide you. You stare at the third dancer. In that inky visage, you clearly discern the frightened features of Ruth Ledbetter. Their dance weaves off and disappears behind the buildings. Go to 18. As you arrive beneath the beacon, 10 villagers close in on you. Working with surprising coordination, they immobilize you and lift you up the blackened iron stairs to the raised platforms. You can't help but shiver at the sight of the central framework, twisted from past blazes, and what you can now clearly see to be fastening points for chain. None of the eyes meet yours as they lash you to the metal. The village sings now, something rhythmic and ancient, carved from odd syllables. A second group ascends to the beacon, carrying the 3 red-draped bodies. With reverence, they arrange their burdens in a triangle around your feet. Then they withdraw, leaving you alone with the dead, shin-deep in a sea of kindling. Go to 33. Oh boy. It seems the entire village is gathered around the beacon to watch you burn. Behind the face paint, you recognize May Ledbetter, and yes, that is Silas the coach driver standing at her side. The audacity and scale of the deception staggers you. A man steps up on a dais and raises his hand with quiet authority. The frame of his spectacles obscures the red triangle on his face. So we draw here together again on this night, as we do each year, and give thanks to the one who will preserve the village against the fire of the void. You will be taken by the ones from above in our stead. Your death will bring life to our streets and bounty to our fields. It will safeguard our children and our elders alike for another year. We salute you. He bows his head. All around the beacon, bearers step forward and lift their torches to the edge of the raised platform. A ring of tiny flames flicker up around the perimeter. As they wink, the singing of the villagers drops into an unearthly rhythm. To throw all of your remaining strength against the bonds, go to 44. To wait and see what happens, go to 44. I'd love to throw something else at them, but unfortunately my hands are kind of chained together, so I can't really do that. I will take a drink from my crystal light, though, while I think about this decision. Ruth told us to wait until the flames hit us, so we're going to sit tight. Go to 40. The flames snake across the kindling, catching and rising. Smoke rises, and it becomes difficult to see the villagers. The three bodies surrounding you catch fire, blazing with sooty red flames. You begin to cough as the smoke enters your lungs and fight down the urge to panic. If you have learned a strange chant and wish to try it, now this is the moment. Otherwise, go to 65. We're going to chant, so going to 50. The flames draw closer as you bring Arbogast's chant to mind. It is hard to clear your head as the heat grows beneath your feet. You cough and splutter, but you sustain the words. Finally, you reach the key passage, and even as your clothes catch fire, you yell for the third time, "Ya, Cthulhu." Go to 270. The swirling tongues of fire around you stop in midair. The people around the beacon freeze, their black painted faces bleached and stripped, as a second sun opens in the air above Emberhead. In an instant, the people, the village, the hill, all are consumed, incinerated by impossible proximity to sheer combustion, the essence of fire. Though your body is bound to the beacon, your being is freed. As a spark you race into space, catapulted through the vastness of the void. The stars burn past you with incomprehensible velocity, and then you are home. Forever you will dwell here, at Fomalhaut, where the flames ripple and flow through immense spaces to the rhythms of the universe, where planets themselves move and tilt through unutterable wheels of fire, bound to the clockwork chaos of the living flame. And among the flames, you will dance. You have single-handedly destroyed a section of New Hampshire about 16 miles in diameter. This also killed you. The end. Probably my favorite ending of Alone Against the Flames, where you basically turn into a living bomb and destroy everything in a 16-mile radius. So we won't need Barnaby's character sheet, since we didn't survive since we basically went toodaloo on the adventure. That will do it for this playthrough of Call of Cthulhu Alone Against the Flames. We're not quite done yet, though, because I did just get a delivery in earlier this afternoon as I got home from work tonight. So we're going to go ahead and crack that open real quick. Once I put everything back away. Oops, that goes along with the D20s, Phoenix. There we go. Okay, now that we've got that figured out, we can get the dice. We'll get the dice tower out of shot. I just got to finish cleaning all of this up. There we are. Dice tower can come out of shot. And we just got a delivery in from Miniature Market as I got home from work tonight. As usual, this box, well, for what I'm expecting to be in here, this box is probably way overkill. But let's go ahead and crack it open and see what we've got in here. Fortunately, it's not an obscene tape job, so there is at least that. Okay, whoops, let's get that out of shot. That's the invoice. Okay. Don't want to spoil what's in there. We're greeted by... Why do they use so much bubble wrap? Anyway, the first thing we're greeted by in here, we'll move this out of the way for a second. We are greeted by a mat for Warfighter World War II Pacific. Let me get this open so we can take a look at what we've got and see how it actually unfolds. That's cool, and that's actually well-timed, because later this month, once the Summer of Lovecraft is over, we will be taking an adventure in Warfighter World War II Pacific. Now, as I've mentioned, I do have a reason that I've chosen both setting and schedule placement for a reason, but you'll have to wait until we get to the last Sunday video for August before you see why I chose schedule placement and setting. So we'll bring that out of shot and see what the other half of our delivery is. As also in here, we've got the Eastern Front expansion for Stuka Leader by DVG. So now I have everything that goes in with Stuka Leader. Let's go ahead and crack this open real quick, and we'll see what we've got in here. As usual, we've got looks like we've got more pilots in here, which is still going to need to get sorted out, along with presumably the targets. Got our punch board, which is again going to need to get punched and sorted out at some point. Other side of that, let me see if I can put this counter back in until I'm ready to punch everything out. Yep, that'll work. And then the campaigns we've got in here are Barbarossa, Stalingrad, and the Battle of Oneper. I probably just butchered the pronunciation of that. So we can put all of that back in we can get all of that back in. I'm going to need to find a hanger for the Warfighter mat, but that will do it after the product unboxing for this playthrough of Call of Cthulhu, Alone Against the Flames. Busy week coming up on the channel as usual. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will continue out of the Ticket to Ride cookbook with the side Wildberry Salad. There may be a baseball stream on Saturday as well. It might be a morning stream when I normally would be filming Mystical Munchies, because I'll probably be making the salad. I'll probably be filming Mystical Munchies as part of dinner for Saturday night, since that is a side salad, and I can have that as the salad with dinner on Saturday night. As for Sunday, we're continuing the Summer of Lovecraft with the second leg as we play Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. Next week, we'll be continuing with our Call of Cthulhu adventures, as for the first time on the channel, we'll find ourselves alone against the dark. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.